What's up, everybody? This is Bryson Lewis
and Andaman Ross
with Centurion Real Estate Services, and we have another video for you today. We are talking today about
pros and cons of living in Corvallis.
Living in Corvallis. Excited about this because we have both ends of the spectrum here. I've lived here my whole life, grew up here.
I moved to Corvallis about 5 years ago from Iowa, so I get to bring the perspective of someone who was transplanted here from an environment that's way different from what Corvallis has to offer.
Oh, absolutely.
That brings us to our first pro of living in Corvallis.
And that is, there's so much to do around here.
Yeah.
And that's primarily because we live in this incredible location where we are about an hour from the ocean. We're about an hour and a half from a big city to do big city things, and then we're about an hour and a half or less from the mountains to go skiing and snowboarding. And then on top of all that, right around the city of Corvallis, we are filled with lush, awesome forests and hills and mountains all around.
Now, I was blown away when I first moved here because coming from Iowa, none of these things are available. You know, if I would want to go to the beach or go to the mountains or go to a city with more than 200,000 people, none of those things were available. But here in Corvallis, you can day trip pretty much all of those things. Not pretty much, you can day trip every single one of those things, or even really knock it out in an afternoon or multiple of them in a day.
So, our first con. What's our first con, Ian?
The first con of living in Corvallis is the rain. There's tons of it. It rains for multiple months every year and it's super sporadic. It can come and go 4 or 5 times in a day, or it can come and rain for like 15 days straight. So there's all this fun stuff to do, but for many months out of the year it's raining. So either you have to be okay with doing it in the rain or just wait until it gets warm again.
Okay, that leads us to our second pro of living in Corvallis, which is what?
It is a very healthy place to live. There's tons of local and organic farms here in the Willamette Valley, which give lots of access to locally sourced and sustainably farmed produce and foods that are available at a number of different grocery stores here in town. And even the people of Corvallis are just really health conscious. Lots of people that bike commute to work and just bike around. And so it's really easy to find groups of people that will just get you active because everyone here is being active.
We have a high percentage of people in the city that care about the environment, that care about sustainability. So we have a lot of that going on as well. Yeah.
It's a healthy place. The people are healthy. Now that brings us to our second con of living in Corvallis, which is
the nightlife, or lack of nightlife here in town.
There is no nightlife here in Corvallis. Pretty much the whole city shuts down at 8 p.m. And so unless you want to go drinking at a college bar or something like that, there's really nothing to do after 8 p.m. Even most restaurants will close around 9:30. And so there's really no nightlife in the Corvallis area.
But one of the benefits is if you really had a special thing or like want to do a special date or something like that, Portland's less than an hour and a half away and they have incredible nightlife scene, especially with restaurants and stuff. So, you know, we have that close by.
Yeah, that brings us to our third and final pro of living in Corvallis, which is
the small town feel of Corvallis, but you get the best of both worlds because of what it offers and its location, like we've already talked about. So what's amazing about Corvallis, it's a real tight-knit community. It's really quick to get integrated and easy to get integrated, like we talked about earlier, with so many different groups and communities within the city. Just functionally, you can get pretty much anywhere in Corvallis or across town within 10 to 15 minutes. So the traffic isn't so bad, especially if you're coming from a bigger city. It's amazing. Okay. Our third con of living in Corvallis, just getting real here. This is a big one, and that is
affordability. This comes into play with housing, this comes into play with jobs, this comes into play in so many different facets of living in Corvallis, and it's a really big problem for a number of people.
Yeah, one of the big problems right now is the rental market. The rental prices are high, and it's an incredibly tight market. It's been difficult. I know people that are trying to move here, and it's taken a month to find a place to move into, just to rent. House prices have been skyrocketing. Although, you know, house prices are relative depending on where you're coming from or, you know, that kind of thing. but they're definitely becoming more and more challenging for first-time home buyers. It does present a big problem for moving to Corvallis. Right now, we're at the point where you can actually get a mortgage, buy a house for less than some of the rent rates that we're seeing out there. Our final point here is the pros and cons of Corvallis is actually a neutral piece. We're going to end it with one of the big factors that people either are on one side of the fence or the other on, and that is that Corvallis is a university town. We have Oregon State University here. Go Beavers, Beaver Nation. We bleed orange and black. Some of us, most of us do.
The city is really influenced by the presence of the university. It has a really big impact in the community, and if you move out here, it's either going to impact you positively or negatively, but it's definitely going to impact you.
Yeah, and so some of the things that we find that people like about the university, obviously it provides a lot of jobs. It also brings a lot of culture. We have an increasingly growing population of international students that come here, so it brings a lot of culture and diversity to the city, which is what some people really like. It's really fun. And then a few things that are challenges for residents especially brings an influx of young people, and there's a little bit of rowdiness around the university and some of the housing around those. So certain neighborhoods become problematic because there's a lot of kids, out there ruckusing about. And then it also increases traffic during the school year and whatnot. But there are ways around that. There's plenty of areas of Corvallis you can avoid being caught up in that, the campus busyness and the craze there. That leads us to our closing point, which is my favorite. I saved the best for last. These incredible summers, because students would go back home, so the busyness of the town would kind of diminish in the summers. We have the best summers ever anywhere. So the summers is probably the hidden gem of Corvallis.
All that to say, you should move to Corvallis, and when you do, you should give us a call.
Especially if you're looking to buy a house in the area, that's our specialty. So give us a call, and that's it for now.
See you next week.
Boom.
Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button right here.
Yeah, bro.